Hello everyone, in this episode of my JavaScript tutorial I'm gonna be talking about the const keyword in more detail. So let's get going. So the const keyword is a keyword that was introduced in 2015 to ECMAScript, which is also known as JavaScript. And variables defined with const cannot be redeclared or reassigned, and the variables defined with const, they have a block scope, unlike the variables declared with var. So I'm gonna give you yet another example. I'm gonna create a constant of pi and make it equal to 3.14159 and a semicolon. If I try to take this constant pi and reassign it to something else like 300, that's not going to work out. Now we can go to the tab, right click, inspect, go to the console, and we will have an uncaught type error, assignment to a constant variable. So constants cannot be redeclared. So yeah. Also, the second thing is that JavaScript constant variables must be assigned a value when they are declared. So I cannot do this like this. I can't first declare the variable and then assign the value. This is wrong and this is not gonna work. So I have to make this at the same time, like this. This only works, but this doesn't. However, if I was using let, this is going to be okay. But with const, this doesn't work. So yeah, I gotta do it all at once, like this. There we go. So now you might be thinking, when should we use const and when should we use let and? Yeah, well, always declare a variable with const when you know that the value of that variable should not be changed. So that's basically the key thing. Always declare a variable with const by default, and if you find out that the variable has to be changed, then change the constant variable to be a let variable. Alright, in this episode I'm gonna be talking a little bit about arrays. So an array is basically a value that holds multiple other values. So let's declare an array right now. Let's make a constant of fruits equal to an array, straight brackets, semicolon at the end, and I'm gonna insert orange, apple, coconut. Is that even a fruit? I don't know. Anyways, that doesn't matter. Anyways, the constant keyword is a little bit misleading because it does not define a constant value. It defines a constant reference to a value. So because of this, we can't reassign a constant value or an array in this case. For example, if I try to do this, fruits equals and then something inside of here, for example, orange and apple, that's not going to work, alright? We will get the uncaught type error, assignment to a constant variable. But there's other ways to do this same thing. So we got this array with these values. If we want to add a value over here, we can use for example, the push method. Fruits.push And then I'm gonna add something to the end. What's a good fruit? Apple, orange, let's say banana. There we go. And now, if I'm going to go ahead and take the document and my example paragraph and change the inner HTML of that to equal my array of fruits, look what happens. It has orange, apple, coconut, and banana inside. So the value is actually not constant. We can change the value inside. The only thing that's constant is that it's a constant reference to this value. So yeah, we cannot reassign this array, for example, straight away, but we can change the elements of this constant array. Or if this was an object, I'm gonna talk about these both more in detail in the future, but if this wasn't an object, I could also change the properties of the constant object. So yeah, the constant might be a little bit misleading, but you'll get around to it when you work enough with it. Now we can also change an element or value inside of this array. So for now we have orange, apple, and coconut. This orange has an index of 1. Apple index 1, coconut index 2. So if I take my fruits array at the index of 0 and I'm gonna make it equal to something, that's going to be changed. So now when I print out my fruits constant array onto the document, it's gonna say something apple coconut. So yeah, if I change this number to be 1, then you can see that apple has disappeared and been replaced with the word something. If I change it to be 2, you can see that the coconut has disappeared and been replaced. So that's how the indexes work in arrays. I'm gonna be talking about arrays and objects in the future a lot more, but this is an introduction to them. So yeah, the constants, they define a constant reference to a value instead of being a constant value all the time. It's more like a reference. But yeah, you will get used to it after working with them a little bit. I'm gonna also create a constant object. So object is created with these brackets. So I'm gonna say that this is gonna be name is going to be orange. Then the calories is going to be 87. And let's say that the color is also going to be orange. There we go, we have our first object. Now I can go ahead and access these different values inside of this object by typing in fruits.name. The name is orange. Fruits.calories, it's 87, and fruits.color, it's orange. So this is an object. And it might be better if I made these to be on a same line like this. Alright, there we go. So there we have an object. So these are called key value pairs. And that should be on the same line. There we go. Alright, so we add a name, then we add the value, and we separate them with a comma. I'm gonna be talking about objects a lot more in the future. This is just an example. But yeah, alright. However, if I was to get the object fruits and for example the fruits.name and change it to be banana, I can do that. Now if I print fruits.name, it's going to be banana. So even though it's a constant variable, or in this case a constant object, I can still change the name of that, or the calories, or the color, or whatever I decide to declare inside of here. So we can make these value pairs as many as we want. I can create whatever I want inside of here. I just have to separate them with a comma. Alright. However, there's something that's not going to work, and it's if I take my fruits object and try to reassign it immediately like this. Name banana, then calories 127 and color yellow. Now this is not gonna work. It will give us the same error as before. Let's go to inspect console. Oh, there's that. Well, yeah. Now we get the uncode type error. Assignment to a constant variable. So yeah, it cannot be straight away redeclared, but we can take fruits and a value from inside and make it equal to something else. Like this. This is the only way we can redeclare a value inside of a constant object. In this case, it's an object. But I'm gonna go more in detail about objects and arrays in the future. Okay. Then, I'm basically going to be showing you the block scope. So declaring a variable with const is very similar when it comes to the block scope. So for example, I'm gonna create a variable x equals 5. This is in the global scope. And if I am going to put it on the site, take a document get element by ID example, it's gonna be 5. And by the way, I have my paragraphs over here with the ID of example, and that's how this line of code works. Alright. Now if I make a block scope over here, and I'm gonna make another constant with the same name, and this time x is gonna be equal to 10. And I'm gonna take document.getElementById example and change the inner HTML to be x. It's still going to be 5, but if I remove this line, it's going to be 10. Because now it's going to take this from here. So this constant is declared within a block scope. These two variables will not have naming conflicts because they are in different scopes. So yes, even though we have two variables with the same name, there's no naming conflicts because they are in different scopes, because these are inside the brackets, they are inside of a block scope, and this variable is in the global scope. So yeah. And I have a constant x of 10 and x over here, so 10 is what gets printed on the website. Alright, but the constant variable is really similar to the let variable or the let keyword when we come to the global scope and the block scope. And I explained those things a lot in the previous episode already, so I'm not gonna go over all of them once again. But yeah, there's some things that I did introduce in this episode, such as objects and arrays. They were the new things, and then some details about the constant keyword, that it's not always constant. We can make redeclarations to objects and variables created with a constant keyword or the const keyword, but yeah. Anyways, I hope you learned something new in this episode, and yeah. And we are definitely going to talk more about objects and arrays in the future. For now, you don't have to know anything else other than they exist. Alright, anyways, I hope you learned something new in this episode, and I hope I'm going to see you in the next one. So, yeah, happy learning, everyone, and have yourselves a wonderful day. Bye bye.